I'm Christine Orr with Ringgold, and I work with our North American clients. I'm also joined by my colleague Jay Henry, and on the West Coast.
Hi, everybody.
And also our customer support expert, which is Giselle Rollins, and she's actually coming to us from the UK this
Hi,
evening.
everybody.
So, and some of you might have had the pleasure of working with Giselle before. So you guys have attended some of the previous sessions. So just to put what we're going to talk about today in context, you might remember this earlier slide. We've spoken about how you build the house of a good data strategy upon the foundational elements of standard IDs. Healthy records kind of come on top of that, looking at what makes up a healthy record set, healthy data set, and then that is a component of a larger data governance program that encompasses not only healthy and well-structured data, but also the infrastructure and policies and things like that go into it. But what we're going to focus on today is one key element, and that will be improving the health of individual records or within a priority record set. And again, you've joined us for some of the previous webinars, so you have a pretty good idea of why it's important to have and maintain clean customer data. But you might be thinking that, oh my goodness, this is an overwhelming task. It's kind of like, running a marathon, cleaning it all, implementing a vast data governance program. That is way too much to take on. So where do we even start? Well, we're going to start with a little healthy jog through the park instead of the New York City Marathon. Small and manageable is the key to what we're talking about today. And part of breaking this into manageable pieces will be thinking of just a single data set that I want you to keep in mind for today as we go through this. And what we'll focus on are a few small things that you can do to tidy up and clean and improve the health of your customer data. We talk a lot about live institutional customer data here at Ringgold, and we work a lot with those kind of record sets with our clients because those are high-value clients and subscribers to you. They represent, for many of us in publishing, our largest online user base, and serving them properly is a critical importance to our business. But you might think of any kind of important data set as we go through the presentation today. We'll also wrap up the session with a look at the Ringgold Audit Service, which is a defined and more robust solution. But first, we'll do the easy bits, okay? So like any project, you're going to want to take the time to prioritize and plan in advance, okay? So let's think of this as a short-term data cleanup, a spring cleaning, if you will, okay? So the first thing you're going to want to do is figure out, what problem are you trying to solve? That will help set the parameters of the project. Are you experiencing service problems? Are you maybe adding or merging with another journal? Are you migrating systems? We actually get a lot of clients who come to us wanting to do a data normalization project or a cleanup project because they're moving to a new fulfillment system or a new hosting platform, and that's a really good time to take a good look at your data because like moving house, you don't want to move the crazy stuff in the attic. You just want to move the really high-value stuff that you plan to use and keep, okay? Moving on, prioritize the record sets that you need to deal with. Within the set that you're looking at, maybe there are even some more high-value records than others. Sometimes clients will come to us and say, look, I really want to just tidy up the online licensees rather than all the thousands and thousands of one-off print subscriber records, okay? What time frame of records is relevant? Do you need to just look at current active customer records, maybe just last year's as well, or is there any reason to go back further than that and look at a larger scope of records? You need historical trend data. Maybe you do. Are there any geographic regions that are more important or maybe more troublesome than others where the data is a little dirtier and you really need to get it clean in order to service those clients in that area of the world properly? And is there a type of customer record maybe that needs attention more than other? Members, individual subscribers, maybe your prospect and CRM contacts, that kind of thing. Or again, just live customer records from your fulfillment system. And then, again, like any project, gather up your tools and your resources. Are there staff that you can enlist in the project, anyone in your department, maybe in the customer service area, maybe you need a consultant to help kind of on this cleanup, or there's some IT staff you can use. Are there information sources that you can use to inform and advise how you might want to structure the data in the data sets you're going to be working with? We'll go into this a little bit more in a few minutes. And the old standby is time and money. Is there some kind of a deadline that you're up against? You know, we're migrating to the new fulfillment system on May 1st, and we have to back into that date. And again, how much money can you throw at the problem? Is this something that you will have to take on with existing in-house resources, or are you able to engage someone else to help do this? Is this a high enough priority for your company that you're willing to make a little bit of an investment in it? Okay? A little tip before you start working, because it's really tempting to just want to dig in and do this, but just back up original data, work from the copy, and then keep a copy of all of your pre-cleaned records in case you experience any issues when you overwrite the data in your system of choice. Okay? And we're really going to just dig into a couple of quick and easy things that you can do to kind of clean your records. And I'll use the term normalize kind of with a small n versus a big N. Normalizing records with a big N really is a data governance concept that means, you know, standardizing the structure, standardizing each field. It's kind of a larger concept, and it usually means normalizing the file against, say, an authority file. What we're talking about now is really kind of spring clean and just making sure that the your data elements are in a better shape than they are now. Okay, but it absolutely is worth doing and can be a good first step for you. So the first thing that you're going to do is create a data policy document or a style sheet. This is going to be your playbook, the rules you're going to follow when you're cleaning up this record set and creating new records within it, because, of course, we're getting new records all the time. And a couple of things you're going to want to consider when you're creating this document. Take a look at the data that you have before you. Take a look at some sample records and see, which data elements are required as part of this record. You have again, let's talk about a customer record. We obviously need the name of the customer. Maybe we need a contact name. What other fields might you need for the contact? The email address. You need, of course, the addressing fields. Maybe you need an email contact for licensing and service announcements. Decide which elements are absolutely required and then kind of what's nice to have, okay? And then define each data element. And get pretty granular when you do this. Define the fields for the customer records. One thing to think about is, and when you're talking about definition, think about what that data element should contain, but also what it should definitely not contain. For example, what you don't want to do is permit a field to hold two possible value types. Something that would be a common field in one of our records would be title. Well, what kind of title are we talking about? Are we talking about the title of the product that the account subscribes to? Are we talking about the job title of the person who is your primary contact? Or are we talking about the honorific, the Mr., Mrs., Professor, Doctor, so-and-so? Make the fields, define what they are, give them titles that mean something that helps you kind of stay away from the ambiguous. And one of the things that people often ask us at Ringgold when we talk about data cleansing or data normalization is, how helpful is it to set naming conventions for particular fields? And they often think just about institution names. And it is quite helpful to do this. It will get you part of the way towards a standardized data set. But it is something to think about, so I wanted to address it here. So it is helpful to set naming conventions for organization names, address fields, as many fields as you can. But thinking about abbreviations, we tend to advise against it, if you can, because once you start abbreviating anything, it's easy to start abbreviating more and more things, and that's when data can really get a little bit, very poor quality. Look just at the left side of the field there. You'll see a bunch of institutions that are taken from our identified database that are all have the perfectly valid abbreviation of UCL. None of those would be readily identifiable if that's all you have in the organization name field. And again, because most publishers will deal with a global or international subscriber base, the question always comes up, should we use English or the native language of the institution? Okay, both might very well be official, okay, or proper. I don't know, the only advice we can give here is really if you're an international organization with staff around the world that are all likely to be creating records in different languages, you may want to go with native language. But whatever you determine, do be consistent. And again, when we talk about English or native, it applies to the institution name, the city, the state, the country, lots of different things. Okay? So whatever you decide, be consistent throughout. Okay? And just a few ideas on, when you're pulling together this style sheet or your playbook, try not to reinvent the wheel. There's some great existing authority files out there that can help you with setting naming conventions or defining particular data elements. You can Google any of these. Some of these are free and open sources, and some of these are proprietary, but they can help you kind of define these data elements. So, for example, we at Ringgold pretty much use the ISO country code list, which is a list of 2-character country codes for every country around the world, and we use that as a standard form of entry instead of whatever the full spelled out country name. And you can think of this in your own records. You might very well have 3 or 4 or 5 different variances of U.S. United States, U.S.A, U.S. of America. Let's face it, a lot of us are U.S.-based publishers, so we don't even bother putting anything in the country field for domestic subscriber records. So driving people to use a standardized list will really be helpful. You can also use these lists as part of, say, drop-down menus if you're able to embed them in your systems that way. That way you're sure to capture the data properly up front. So that's something to think about as well. And again, when you're going through this, making up this little playbook, don't aim for perfection. Perfect is the enemy of the good, I like to say. So let's just do a first draft for now and get your project off the ground, okay? The second thing you're going to do is fill in what is missing. You've defined in your style sheet which fields must be filled in, which are required to be populated, and those are the ones you're going to want to tackle first. Of course, some of the things you're going to want to tackle are any of the fields that you need to fulfill services or orders or contact your clients. Okay, these are, again, they're mostly we're talking about really high value clients, and therefore these are high value records. So it's worth it to spend the time with them. Sometimes you may want to complete additional fields if it's easy to do so, like URL or FTEs or consortium memberships that you might not have use for now but are nice to have. You can't always anticipate all of the future use cases for your data, so if it's easy to fill in some of the nice-to-have fields, do it. But again, keep your focus on the fields that are absolutely required to be populated as part of that you've defined as your style document. One other thing to think about, we've talked about missing data that's missing from fields that may be missing. We don't have a field here for middle name, okay? Maybe that's helpful. Sometimes we'll see publishers use, single address fields and put it all in there. So maybe an address to field for a secondary mail stop or something like that is a helpful thing to have, okay? Additional fields and additional records. Are there records that are completely missing? Okay. Records for, say, a consortia that could link all of the consortium member records. Let's say you have a subscriber in Harvard Business School and also at the medical school, but you actually don't have a record at the top level for Harvard University that might be used to bridge or join those two together, because it is helpful to see where the connections are in your data. Think about that as well, okay? And just like your mom told you, put everything where it's supposed to go. You will have defined what counts as the right field in your style sheet. For example, where to put, say, the library name versus the official organization name. You might find that you already have pieces of correct data, but they're simply in the wrong place. Again, we always see address stuff get jammed together all in one field. And with this kind of thing, and I've highlighted in yellow here a lot of the perfectly valid information that is sitting in the wrong place, okay? It's just there's a field for it and we didn't use it, okay? Some of the cleaning in your working file may be able to be done programmatically or with like a search replace. So, all of your U.S. records, you can just do a search replace and put all of the, standardize those names, put them all in the right field all together, kind of in a couple of search replaces. One thing to do as you start moving through the file, you may want to stop yourself at about 10% of the record set and just do a check-in. How is it going? Is the degree of difficulty more than you anticipated? Have you realized you need to make some changes to the style sheet, or is it simply taking too long in order to kind of meet the deadline that you have set for yourself? If any of those conditions are true, you may want to kind of pull up and touch base with a consultant, possibly us, to see if you need some additional support on this. But yeah, 10% should give you it's a good time to check in and kind of take your temperature and see how the project is going, okay? And after you've done that, after you've done your initial spring clean, your initial pass through the data, then it's time to take it to the next steps because, the minute you finish with this data set, you are getting more orders in. It's renewal season. We're probably all getting orders in, this week. So you're always creating new records that will also need to be tidied up, okay, or brought into compliance with your style sheet. So stress the importance of this data policy document and get it into the hands of the people who are responsible for data entry, okay? You want to value those data entry staffers and win over their bosses if you can, if these folks don't report to you. Unfortunately, these folks are often seen as low-level staffers or unimportant, but their contribution is absolutely vital. They are the first step in data capture, and which is absolutely important to ongoing data health. Okay, their contributions are key to ensuring that all of your high-value clients are well served, well taken care of, and that you even can figure out who your high-value clients are. Enforce good data capture practices where you are able to. As I mentioned before, using standard-based drop-down menus and not allowing people the freedom, quote-unquote, to put in free text will be a great step forward. We like to say free text is the death of good data around Ringgold. So whatever that, wherever you can standardize a data element, do so. Okay? And if you capture it correctly up front, it beats cleaning it up later. Okay? And again, like I said, new records are rolling in the door every day, so you may want to set up, again, if it's important for your processes, this wasn't a one-time project for you, but I would suggest reviewing new records on a regular basis, monthly, quarterly, whatever seems appropriate for you. So someone's really got to own this. Maybe it's you, maybe it gets shunted to someone else, but create a periodic review schedule for this. Take a look and see, now that you've got your, let's say, your customer records in shape, see if additional data sets need attention. Let's say we've done the institutional subscribers, maybe we tackle personal subscribers next, or member records, or institutional prospect records, okay? Educate new staff as they come on board and continue to evangelize and get buy-in from the people who are affected by poor data, which is a lot of people, or the folks who rely on good data to make key decisions. Again, that's just about all of us. And show the results of your work in a tangible way that is meaningful to your organization. I've worked at membership organizations in the past, and if you could put something in the context of how great this was for the membership, then it was just golden and highly valued. Maybe the language of your place is financial, maybe it's membership, maybe it's something else, researchers, but, put it in language that will get you heard, okay? And now, before we dig into talking about Ringgold's audit service, I wanted to open up the floor for any questions. If anyone had any questions or thoughts on what we've discussed so far, you can kind of raise your hand in your chat window or chat me a question. Okay, I don't see any questions, so I'm going to move on. So sometimes the steps that we've outlined above are really not enough for your needs. You need definitive data standardization. You need a means to join up records more authoritatively, either to each other via what we call hierarchy linking, or enable cross-system linking via the use and embedding of standard identifiers like, the Ringgold ID and others. So in such cases, you may want to move on to, say, a professional review or audit of your data, okay? And to meet that kind of need, Ringgold has developed our audit service. Some of you are on the call happen to be our clients already, so you may know quite a bit about this. But just to review, this is a highly structured process that's designed to give clients definitive data normalization for key record sets. And again, most of the time, the record sets that we work with are institutional subscriber and licensing records. We normalize against the authority file of the identified database, which has become an accepted part of the scholarly supply chain. The process is marked with secure data handling and thorough quality checking at every step through the process. And we have a team of in-house data managers, editorial staff, that's supplemented with a team of global researchers that are proficient in about 30 languages, and they're familiar with the academic and library landscape of their countries, okay? And I see we have about five minutes left, so I'm going to continue on just with a quick time check, but we're absolutely happy to stay on if anyone has questions after the time, but we'll attempt to go through this pretty quickly, okay? But again, I'm happy to stay on with anyone who has questions afterwards, okay? This is the audit process kind of broken into, the full detail that define the steps that we take with every record set. And things to remember are, again, this is a manual process. These are knowledge workers that are taking a look at your data and working with your records, and it's an entirely secure system. Okay, we realize that we're working with highly sensitive data, commercially sensitive data, so we keep that as secure, high level of security, okay? And this is just a sample of the reach of our international team of researchers. Again, there's about 45 people we have stationed around the world. They speak more than 30 languages, which again, we've all got global client bases. Sometimes our clients will need help with just a specific geographic segment or country, which they don't have the internal resources to sort out. And another reason to have folks on staff like this are that there are real vagaries from region to region. The university system in the U.S. is not the way it works everywhere around the world. The French university and government research sector is really intertwined, so it requires someone with a trained eye and familiarity to sort it out properly and make those connections the right way. The Indian university system, for example, is growing. There are a lot of new institutions coming up, and sometimes when you look at their website, they claim to be affiliated with existing universities, which might really have implications for how you as a publisher might operate with them or license to them. But proper administrative and financial ties, in fact, don't really exist. So it's helpful to have, we have kind of fixed editorial rules as to when we create a linkage between institutions. And again, you need the language and kind of local expertise to help sort that out. Okay. When we complete an audit, we send back to the client lots and lots of definitive and well-structured data. You're basically going to get a set of files that come back to you, which provide the complete identify details for each of your accounts. And this is kind of a before and after. I've always found it helpful to get really tangible. So we see data in all states of health. Sometimes it's what our data team pronounces lovely and clean, which really means the right information is sitting in the right field and all of that. But we still often see lots and lots of duplicates and connected records, and so we help to try to make those connections. So here's, what might be a sample record set. We see here there's nothing in address 1, but it's over here. It's just called the serials department. Here's a Sweats account. Not really sure who's behind that. MHH could be anybody. And this is a slightly neatened up version of the kind of data that we send back at the close of an audit. And you'll see these two pink header columns. This is the information that was supplied to us by the client. And then this is the kind of data that we will send back. It's matched to the Ringgold number, Ringgold name. And this is, again, taken all from our identified database. So you can see here, for example, in red, these are two different accounts from a publisher. And then they've been standardized against the same actual institution. So here's a duplicate that was uncovered. These institutions, for example, okay, one of them was our famous cereals department. It turns out they are all children of the same hospital system. So the connections are also revealed in the data that we send back, okay? So if you find yourself in this kind of a situation, we'd really be happy to talk to you and evaluate your data and see how we might be able to support you and help you get it into a better state for whatever questions you're trying to answer, okay? And it's pretty easy to sum this up. Again, it is absolutely worth taking a stab at doing a quick spring clean on your data. But if you do, need to call upon external resources, there are absolutely some out there. So if anyone has any questions, that's really about it. Jay, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I mean, this was really just a summary of the best way to get started and not biting off more than you can chew. Essentially, as you said earlier, making sure that the perfect is not the enemy of the good, and that there are lots of ways that you can get started with getting your data on the road to a healthier future. I think you pretty well covered it, Christine. Great. Well, if anyone has any questions, I'm certainly happy to stay on and chat. Does anyone like to raise their hand or have any questions we can help you with? Okay, well, I don't see anyone. Thank you for joining us for this quick afternoon sprint through data health. And thanks to the many of you who came and joined through for a bunch of the other sessions in the series. Again, we'll post all these slides, and we'll reach out to you afterwards with directions on how you can download the slide deck and get a copy of this recording. But thank you so much for spending some time with us today, and we really appreciate hearing from you. So take care and have a great afternoon, everyone. Bye now.